When a guy like Andre has a game-defining play like that and played one of the best games of his career, I think he played something like 70, 80 snaps, just how cool is it to see him come along and have such a profound impact?
No doubt. We always talk about failing and growing, right? There is no growth without some failure. So, as a young player, you're going to have some mistakes. You're going to make some mistakes and fail, right? It's our job as a coach, right, to pick them back up and make sure there's some growth happening in that. And that's just been his process, right? He's been failing and growing, and I'm really proud of him that he had the opportunity to display what he's been working on behind closed doors. But, he's just taking the next step, right? He's who we think he is, right? We're going to continue to push that envelope to see how much better he can get, right? See how much juice we can get from the orange, if that makes sense.
What are some of those little things that you're still hoping to see from him as the season goes?
Just more production on the ball. Obviously, PBUs are great. Interceptions are even better. Just increasing the technique and the eye discipline. That's something that the position that you always got to harp on every single day to stay sharp in terms of the tools that are in the tool bag. So I think as he grows, right, physical strength right there, as his body continues to naturally mature and gain more weight, I think there's still more growth in terms of where his game can go.
When you were looking at the position last spring, you probably had a mental pecking order, not that, where guys might fit. Where was Andre going into the spring? Because not that he came out of nowhere, but
I think this
made some steps,
obviously. No doubt. I think as a new coach, I think everybody gets an opportunity to have fresh eyes, and I think you have to do that as a coach to give everybody an opportunity to play. One, you gain credibility, right? And the kids are actually going to believe in you. So I had no predetermined notions. I knew that Jaden had played before. I knew that Andre had played the season prior to. And just being at the other place, I kind of knew a little bit about Andre and his recruitment, just knew about his skill set, and also had a chance to watch the games that he did play. So in those games that he did play last year, and he did so flashes that he can be the player that we want him to be. So I didn't necessarily have a pecking order, just to be honest, because I didn't know a lot of the guys and hadn't necessarily had a chance to work with them. But once we did get on the football field, we had an opportunity to see that he has length, he has athleticism, and he has speed to stay on top. And a lot of times when you got guys that are 6'1", 6'2", right, they harass receivers, right, just being close by them. And that's something that he's been able to do consistently, is harass and be near and close to the receivers, which is key for us, that we want to just play tight coverage and force the receiver and the quarterback to make a great throw and make the receiver make a great play. So I think he's somebody that steadily made plays from the jump. For us, if you're a returning player, right, obviously he started out with the ones in the springtime, and he didn't let anybody take his job. And that followed suit, right, through fall camp. So he won the job. That wasn't necessarily something that was given to anybody else by default. He went out there, bust his butt, right, and put it on tape. So he's doing everything we've seen him do through fall camp, and we just decided to see him take the next step through the next third of the season.
Yeah.
Injuries are kind of stacking up for the secondary right now. Are there any guys who are kind of been down the depth chart that have really stuck out to you over this week of practice?
I think the thing for us is that the mentality here at Oregon State is that we're going to recruit defensive backs and put the best 5 out there. And fortunately for us, we all meet together. So, there are guys that might be playing corner or nickel, but you still hear the same coaching, the same teaching at safety. So some of those guys will be interchangeable if we need them. Obviously, we saw Exodus Ayers get in there down there towards the end of the game. That was good for him to get some action. We were hoping to kind of hold off on him as long as we possibly could, but had an opportunity to go in there with some meaningful snaps. Very proud of him and his production. I thought Mason went in there and played, I believe, 41 snaps. You can quote me on that one, Nick. But it was probably about 40 some odd snaps there, and probably 35 of those really good snaps. And obviously nobody's going to be perfect, but to see him go out there and play the most snaps that he's played in his career, make some really key tackles for us, right? Be sound in coverage, and also respond, right, from a negative play, because football's an imperfect game, right? Played by imperfect people chasing perfection. So I know we see him making mistakes, but I see him making a lot of strides as well.
What do you obviously not on the front end of the defense, but you're in on all the meetings and stuff about run defense. What is going on with the run defense right now?
I think
what
for
do you need
us,
to do to make it better?
I think on every level, right? It's about the physicality and the attack style defense that we play, right? It's striking blocks, putting your eyes on that blocks, having gap integrity to get off those blocks, right? And then making those plays. I think a lot of those run plays, you might see 8 people doing things right. You might see 3 people doing things incorrect. And in football, right, on game day, they're going to find those issues. They're going to find those mistakes that may not be found in practice. So I think on every level, right, it's just taking ownership of my 111 to the defense, taking my eyes to the the strike, right? A lot of times defensive players, right, want to look for the football, right? You can't look for the football and defeat a block at the same time. So I think putting together some of those individual techniques and fundamentals and being day one and being consistent, right? And obviously we got some young players out there playing the most snaps that they've ever played before. So there's going to be some mistakes, right? There's going to be some failing, and hopefully there'll be more growing, right, than failure. But I think from all three levels, whether it's up front, right, at the secondary or at the linebacker depth, right, it's just attention to detail in terms of our fundamentals, taking our eyes to our strike, right, really getting separation, getting off those blocks, and now being in position to leverage the ball through my gap, right, or through the initial leverage of the defense. That's where we got to grow and be more consistent, right, with our group.
Of those guys on the back end right now that are healthy, who is your best five that you can put out there?
Man, listen, that kind of changes day to day. You know what I mean? I'm not going to really get into, the injury stuff. I kind of let Coach Brady really kind of handle that stuff and let him move forward. But, I try to take the mindset of guys do in the NFL. I'm going to coach the guys that are in the room. The standard is the standard, right? We got all we got. This is all we got, and this is all we need. So the guys understand whether or not, you're a freshman. If you're old enough, you're old enough. You got to go out there and uphold the standard. So, I think we'll have five bodies that we'll be feeling confident that we can go out here and execute our defense. And some of that stuff, guys are working through injuries here. We may have them questionable, doubtful. So I can't give you a five for sure right now.
Tyrese took on a bigger role last weekend. What led to that? What have you seen in him to make that change?
I think for us, we're trying to get tighter coverage at the safety position. Obviously, he's played some corner, so he has some of those movement skills that should translate over a little bit better. So we're just trying to grow him, right, and give him more experience. I think, his first game he might play 7 or 8 snaps, but we're trying to build up his reps so we can get some consistent reps that'll be good. And he's been getting closer and closer to plays. Hadn't necessarily made the plays that he wanted. Had a good PBU right off our base coverage right there last week as well. So he's taking strides, right? But he's going to make some mistakes out there, but we got to make sure that, hey, the mistakes are minimal and there are growth opportunities that we're going to make those plays. But, from a movement standpoint at the safety position, he moves very well. Probably more better than the average safety, being that he was a corner, before he got here.
Likewise, with Side, that wasn't an easy assignment for him to jump in that Oregon game like he did. How have you seen him progress since then?
I think like any young player, you get in a game like that where the atmosphere is big, you're going to have some success, have some failures, right? And hopefully you build off of it. But one thing about Side, man, he's got a next play mentality. He's always up here in terms of being a lab rat, in terms of being around the football. So, whether it's a successful day for him or there's things that he needs to clean up, he's always in our office, always trying to improve and get better. So I think for him, man, he's got the skill set that we want at the position. But again, now he's playing a lot more reps, right? So now we just got to work on the consistency of the eye, right? And consistency of the technique of how I do my job. Where do I put my eyes? What are the footwork, right, that's necessary to execute those techniques? That's where he's got to grow from playing 20 snaps, right? So now you're playing upwards of 50 snaps and having that consistency within all of those plays.
We saw Josiah Johnson play some nickel against Oregon this week. He was, kind of playing outside a little bit. Just kind of what have you seen out of him?
Well, the thing about Josiah is that, he's played here, right? He's played in games. He's played at corner. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife for us. He has really good athleticism. He can run outside and stay on top of wide receivers. He's quick enough to handle guys in the slot, and also he's willing to go and stick his face in there and make a tackle. So for us, right, he gives us great versatility. If we're down at one position, right, we can move him to another position. So for us, man, we love him. Right, he's been adding value to the room just in terms of that. But in terms of athletic skill set, man, he can do a lot of different things, and that bodes well for us. That if we get in a pinch, right, like we have in the past, right, with Noble going down, having somebody else to bring some depth in that position right there to go play nickel, but also there's been times we played nickel in the game and he also played corner in the game. So he's done a really nice job in compartmentalizing his learning and just showing that execution on the field. So, just want to get more of that and try to grow the room. The thing about football these days, nobody's playing 85 snaps, so you want to get quality reps and kind of spread those reps over the body so you got quality depth in November, right, that where we're not banged up from guys that are playing 600 snaps right through 8 and 9 games.
We haven't seen a ton of them this year, but obviously, you got Jahim Patterson back there, and he's just got such a unique body type for that position. Just kind of what have you seen of his development so far in season?
I think the world of Jahim. I think the transition from a junior college to a Power 5 program, right? That learning usually comes from the multiplicity of defenses that we run, and I think for him that's where his learning curve has been. Has been kind of mastering those assignments, and unfortunately, he's playing behind one of our better players in Skylar Thomas. So, and he's done a great job in the role that he's had. Hopefully we're going to increase those reps, right? Give him situations because he does bring a different value to the game. He does have a different skill set in terms of the length and physicality that he does bring. So we're hoping to get more out of him, as we progress through the season. But again, some of that, he's got to take ownership and continue to grow within our scheme, within our system, and he is.